Apparently, I did not. I do have a bunch of flannels upstairs, though, so if there's always a break, I can always go change.
Mid-episode swap.
Yeah, mid-episode swap. Inconsistency, you know? Well, I am repping the new AA affiliate for the New York Yankees, the Somerset Patriots. So that's always an interesting thing that's going to be taking place. I work for them, so it's going to be a very exciting season, hopefully this year.
Awesome. Good luck. Good luck.
So yeah, let's get right into the topics for tonight. And we got a fun one to start. So the NBA City jerseys came out. And I apologize if my audio was not working before, but it should be working now. You can tell me in chat if it's not. What's a Goat Talk episode without a little bit of technical difficulty? But anyways, back to the City jersey shots. Guys, which one was your favorite so far?
I'll let Woods take the lead.
So I'm going to go with my favorite city sports-wise, and it's not New York, it's Philadelphia. I'm going to go with the 76ers as the top jersey on my list.
Awesome. It's I'm going to be honest with you. I do like all of them, but I don't know if I don't think we have the graphic for this one because it came out so late in the day. But the Charlotte Hornets did the Buzz City ones. They did like a really nice powder blue with
We do have those.
You do? Okay, so they had a gold brim and gold stripes.
Before you go, was able to get some of them. Not all of them are in that slideshow you're looking at right now.
Right. Well, I think the Hornets ones were super clean. Apparently, they have a really rich history behind them, why they put the gold on and whatnot. I encourage you to read about it if you can. The Hornets ones are definitely on the top of my list, but I think the cleanest jersey in all of sports, the Memphis Grizzlies, they brought back the 2000s ones that they had, the Caribbean blue, orange to the sides, Memphis across the front. It's a really clean look. I just love all of Memphis's uniforms that they've ever had. And these are no different. I think these are just absolutely clean. And if anything, these are the ones that go.
I think for me, I was an obvious choice for me with the Phoenix Suns ones, the one that says the Valley across the midsection. And I'm kind of surprised that neither of you even talked about these ones. Because I thought this was an obvious winner right here. I can't wait to see Phoenix in these jerseys. A couple other ones I like was the Portland Trailblazers one because they had Oregon on the jersey, which I thought was cool. It's like, oh wait, yeah, that's right, they play in Oregon. I feel like people forget that a lot. And then even
where's Portland?
Yeah, the Warriors have what was it? Oakland or
Yeah, I think it was Oakland.
Oakland in front of theirs. So I think the City jerseys are bringing the heat this year. I think this is probably the best reveal of new jerseys I've ever seen since I've been watching the NBA. Is that a hot take?
I have to
better and better
agree.
every year.
They are better every year. I gotta say though, because nobody said these either. The San Antonio Spurs bringing back the '90s colorway with the green, the greenish blue, the pink, and the orange. They had the 3 stripes across the front. It reminds me of the late '90s logo that they had on center court. That was super, super clean. And I have to say, as a Magic fan, I'm not really crazy about ours, to tell you the truth. It kind of combined 3 different eras of Orlando jerseys. So you had they have the ones with the stripes up and down like this with kind of the V in the neck like they had in the mid-2010s. Then they did the orange because orange has been the color they're doing because orange is the Florida, the orange state. And then they did the 90s style Orlando across the front. So it's kind of a mix of a couple different eras. I don't really like the Magic wearing orange, but I think all the jerseys, except for the Knicks, are nice. Because
of course, except for the Knicks, right?
What would anything basketball be if it didn't involve the Knicks doing something terrible? I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see it, but it's just a really not a fan, not a fan at all. It's like a weird.
I feel like the Knicks could have done a little bit more, but
they could have done more. Exactly.
Yes. And if the fact that they're also in New York, you got plenty of graphic designers there. You got plenty of marketing. They could have, I think, brought it up a little bit more. I think did the Nets release theirs yet? I have not.
Yeah, they're doing those powder blue, old New Jersey Nets jerseys, like the gradient. Which I hate Brooklyn using New Jersey Nets stuff because I mean Faz knows this. I'm very salty about that organization leaving New Jersey in the first place.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Leaving only.
But you gotta admit it's a clean jersey though.
No,
it's a nice jersey.
I think New Jersey Nets have had better jerseys than that. If you're gonna look at all New Jersey Nets jerseys,
I think they have too. But it seems like besides the Knicks, of course, it seems like the common trend along these teams is they're going back to like a '90s, early 2000s vibe, which I think is awesome. I mean, I just said the Magic, like they have their '90s, 2000s mix type thing. The Grizzlies did something like that. All these teams look like they're like, or most of them at least, look like they're kind of going back to like a retro style. But then, I don't think the Nets are an exception to that. And I saw like the pictures of KD and Kyrie wearing them. I thought those were super clean. But can we talk for a second how the Lakers went all the way back to the '60s with the blue and white? Mm-hmm. They went to the George Mikan, Jerry West era.
I don't know, like all the teams got a memo, like, hey, like step up your game this year. But like I'm telling you, I've never seen like such a wide variety of new jerseys. I guess new in quotation marks because they, like you said, they're throwing a lot of stuff back from the '90s and before. But as a unison, as a league, I've never seen like such a nice jersey layout from all the teams, not just the cup. Oh, not like here, that one's nice, this one's nice. I mean, all of them for the most part are nice, except for the Knicks, like we talked about. But that's exactly what we expect from the New York Knicks.
Well, here's the thing. Do you think they all sat down and said, "Oh, what do you want to do this year? Do you want to throw it back to like the early ages of your organization, or we do more of a different approach to it?" But I feel like everyone did some sort of retro thing because every uniform I've looked at screams 1970s, 1980s. It's a throwback in a way, as you were saying, Faz.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt either. One of two things: they either all sat down together, or one or two teams started getting leaked, and everyone else was like, "Yeah, we're gonna jump on that bandwagon." So it could go either way.
Yeah, it could go either way, and of course, a lot of these organizations have not released their jerseys yet. I know the Celtics haven't. When I was doing research, they haven't dropped what theirs is going to be. So I'm very interested to see what a lot of these other organizations are going to do in the near, let's say in the coming days, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think the NBA season starts in December this year, so it should be interesting to see what they're going to do.
Yep.
So moving on from that into our next NBA topic, Eddie was already talking about it in chat about Russell Westbrook. Eddie said Westbrook still can't shoot threes, and he low-key thinks the Clippers are going to get Russell Westbrook. So that's a good transition into, guys, where do we think Westbrook's going to end up after requesting a trade from Houston?
Well, I originally said OKC, going back to his home territory in the pre-show here. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I really don't.
So I mean, it's tough. It's tough because it really shows that I don't think either of the two teams should have done that trade. Like, I mean, Chris Paul did a lot for the Thunder this year, but we see now he's not in their long-term plans. And clearly the Westbrook-Harden thing didn't really work out. So I think there's always the possibility. Who'd you say said? Eddie said the Clippers, Sean?
Yeah, Eddie said the Clippers.
You know what? I can't disagree with that, though, because I think the Clippers losing in the second round are in such a desperation mode, and the one thing that team was really missing was a point guard. Then you come to a point where it's like, well, do you want to create a three-headed monster that I really do think would play well together, but you sacrifice your depth that makes your team so good? Or do you keep the depth that you had, try to sign, an okay-ish point guard just to fill the role and hope that team carries through? So it's really up to the Clippers. I think right now it's down to a really small handful of teams. I don't want to take the thunder away from anybody, not the team. I don't want to take anybody else's spotlight here with these teams, but there's really only such a small handful of teams. I mean, you hear the Clippers, you hear the Knicks, you hear the Hornets, I really think that Miami's been the team that's been tossed around. I don't know who wants to take on that contract. So it'll be really interesting to see. I think it's going to come down to the Clippers and the Knicks. Both of those teams, for different reasons, I think, are in desperation mode. The Knicks are in desperation mode for star talent and someone to get fans in their seats when safe. The Clippers, just got ousted in the second round. They have two high-level star players that are not old, but they're not, they're not getting any younger. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, they're both hovering around the age of 30, so they're kind of in a win-now mode. So I think these are two teams that are desperate for different reasons, especially with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, both entering contract years. So it's going to be really interesting to see which of and I guess you could, maybe even lump the Hornets and arguably the Heat into that too a little bit. Which one of those teams is the most desperate for talent?
Well, you also got to remember that Westbrook's contract is insane. So you got to think it through. Like, what team's going to be able to take that massive price tag on as well? But they also are sacrificing the ability to get other players that might add to their team. Like the Knicks, for example. They need to reinvent their organization. Yes, they need people in the stands, of course, when it's safe, as you were saying. But at the same time, they also need to level it out with the idea that, okay, they need to rebuild their team and get depth. So are they going to sacrifice multi-millions of dollars for one player, or are they going to put that money into other contracts? So it's also going to be a management decision ultimately of what they want to do with their team going forward. But at the same time, like, which is bigger, getting a bunch of people in the stands watching the game or rebuilding your team over a certain amount of years?
Exactly. So let me ask you this. What do you think of Russell Westbrook? Do you think he's still a top-level talented guy that could be maybe not a first option anymore, but like a second option on a championship team? Or do you think those days are behind him and he's just another washed contract that's a has-been?
Well, I mean, Russell Westbrook is 32 now. His birthday was actually today, and surprisingly, the Rockets actually put out.
I saw that.
Yeah, and it was like a monster tweet storm that people were like, "Oh, well, you're divorcing him, but you're putting out a birthday thing for him." So he's 32, and he's getting up there. So I mean, a lot of these teams might just want to add him because of the star power. I mean, he's good chemistry with a lot of these teams, but at the same time, like, he's up there. He's only got a couple more years on him. So are you really going to put a price tag on that and say, well, you're coming to a close in your career and we're going to put all this money for you? But personally, I would feel, if I was in a management role, look at other options and say, well, he might be good star power, but I want actual players that can play most of their career and are young going forward.
Right.
Faz and Ryan, before you guys continue, we're having a little bit of technical problems, so I'm gonna have to actually end the stream and restart it.
Okay.
You'll see it pop back up.